On this week's episode, we have Sachin Doshi, who is the founder and CEO of Weave Coliving, Asia Pacific's pioneering collaborative living company that creates stunning rental accommodation spaces for millennials and young professionals across the region's key gateway cities, starting in Hong Kong. And we've recently received a $181 million investment from global private equity firm Warburg Pincus to expand its co-living offering throughout the region. And I'm sure a lot of you guys had read that in the media back in November of last year because it was a really big deal for the co-living industry. And prior to starting the company in 2017, Sachin spent over 16 years in real estate investment and investment banking, working for global institutions like APG, Merrill Lynch, and Citi in Sydney and Hong Kong. And before this, Sachin was head of Asia Pacific for 450 billion Dutch investor APG, which was based in Hong Kong. In this role, he was responsible for all aspects of the firm's Asia Pacific real estate portfolio. He was on the board of APG Asia's and part of the firm's global real estate management team. And in 2016, APG won the Asian Investor of the Year in the PERE Awards, the first time the firm had won this prestigious award under Sachin's leadership. He is passionate about conceptualizing, creating, and scaling up businesses, as you will hear in this interview, and he's deeply interested in the behavioral patterns of the smartphone generation and addressing key challenges facing young people in Hong Kong and other parts of Asia, most importantly, housing and social needs. In 2016, he was selected as Urban Land Institute's 40 under 40 most influential people in global real estate and urban land use industries. He graduated from the Australian National University in Canberra with first honors in engineering and physics and was awarded the University Medal. Sachin enjoys playing tennis, boxing, and keeping up to date with global current affairs. This is Weave Co-Living. Again, they started in Hong Kong. This is our first interview from a concept in Hong Kong. I was very excited to speak with him and enjoy the interview. Hello, everyone. Christine McDaniel here with the Co-Living Code Show, where every single Wednesday I get to interview co-living operators from around the world, just sharing their vision, their journey, their passion for this new industry that's really taking off, which is very exciting. Today, I actually have Sachin Doshi with Weave Co-Living based in Hong Kong. And this is another interview I've been wanting to do for a while, so really excited to have him on. And then you guys will see some action on the back behind me for those watching video. I'm actually, again, filming from Zoku, which is co-working and co-living in Amsterdam. And Sachin, you had said you've been here before, right?
Yes, I have. Christine, it's great to be on your show. I have been to Zoku in Amsterdam. Really, really cool space, and like what they're doing.
Nice. So let's talk about Weave Co-Living. What year did you start?
So we started in 2017. So it's been just coming to 2 years now. So it's been a very exciting journey over the last 2 years.
And then what made you think of, to create Weave, to create co-living in Hong Kong? Like, what was that? Just tell us about the start of the idea.
Sure. So in my previous career, I was investing across the real estate markets of Asia Pacific, and a lot of people spoke about attracting innovative talent into the cities, but no one was talking about how are these young people going to be able to afford to live in these cities, because they happen to be some of the most expensive cities when it comes to residential real estate. Whether that's Sydney, Hong Kong, Singapore, these are big urban centers with sky-high real estate prices. Hong Kong is a sort of great case in point, where the median household income relative to the median household price, that ratio is 20 times. So for a young person coming out of university, there are some studies that say it's going to take someone 27 years if they save every dollar that they earn to be able to buy a place to live in this city. And that's assuming real estate prices don't go up from where they are today. The other piece of this, obviously, is a lot of young people, even though they spend a lot of time on social media, they spend a lot of time pretending to live the life that they want to live on social media. What they really crave is the sense of community and a sense of belonging. There is an increased feeling of loneliness amongst the sort of younger demographic, the millennial demographic, and we really is a way for way for us to marry good quality value for money accommodation with this great sense of community and belonging that we would like to create. So that was really the genesis of Weave. And this was, maybe 3 years ago when it really started ticking in my brain and keeping me up at night to see how we could change the living situation for young people in the city and many other cities around the region.
That's awesome. And you guys have, so the first building is 160 units, correct? Micro suites?
That's right. So the first Weave property is Weave on Boundary in Hong Kong. That's 160 bedrooms. We opened that in August of 2018, so it's coming up to exactly a year.
Perfect. And then did you start the second building yet?
So our second building is currently under renovation. So we opened that property again in Hong Kong, 95 bedrooms in October of this year. And we have another 300 bedrooms opening through 2020.
In Hong Kong also?
In Hong Kong as well, yes.
Because I know you have this vision to start kind of spreading out to all the gateway cities, right?
That's the aspiration. I mean, what we've tried to do and what our focus for now is making sure that we sort of perfect the business model in Hong Kong. Hong Kong is a great city to do this, given what real estate prices, have done in the city over the last many years, and also the fact that space is tight in the city, and it really allows us to come up with some really innovative solutions around design and efficient use of space, which I think really enhances the sort of co-living offering. But yes, the intention is to grow outside of Hong Kong, and that is something we've started to work on as well.
Exciting. And you guys came on my radar back in November. So last November, 2018, when you guys got tons of press. That was a huge capital injection. I don't know if you were expecting that much press, but from the Warburg, which firm? It was Warburg Pincus did the...
That's right, it was Warburg Pincus. That's correct. Look, I mean, we weren't expecting so much press, but I think at the time, clearly it was a very big vote of confidence, not only in Weave as a company, but co-living in general as a concept and as sort of the future of living. So I think that did garner a bit of press, and we were pretty happy to have received that endorsement from Warburg.
No, that was huge. And wasn't it? It was 413. It was almost $500 million, right? 413 million is what was it like a line of credit?
413 million US across two tranches. So they made an initial capital injection of 181 million US dollars. And as we expand what we're doing, they have the right to increase that to $413.5 million.
To be exact. I love it. I love it. We got to be precise there. I love it. So, and because you guys are asset heavy, business model, like in co-living, we've had both on the show. So there's two main ways. It's, you buy the buildings and you retrofit the buildings and you own the buildings. And that's a great, great long-term play. I tell everybody, but then there's people that are asset light when they're just doing master leases. So this is going to be your model through and through. You think you guys will own all the buildings going forward?
Never say never, but really the crux of the business plan is to own the real estate. And there's very specific reasons for that. We believe when we own the real estate, firstly, we can give our residents a lot of certainty of term because we own the property. No one can kick us out. Secondly, I think from a design perspective, it allows us to be a lot more creative in what we do with the space. When you own the building, you sort of control the destiny of the physical real estate. And also from an operations standpoint, I think it makes it a lot easier for us as we scale our business up to get synergies across multiple properties and at the same time create this broader sense of community within a city or maybe even within a region with our portfolio of properties. Having said that, we're open-minded in terms of how we grow. Obviously, growing through the master lease structure or through pure management contracts is a quicker way to grow. But the position we've taken is is that we'd rather own the real estate, at least in the first instance, and then over time selectively consider doing a more asset-light business model as well. But you're right in saying that we will predominantly be asset heavy.
Got it. Nope, that totally makes sense. And do you guys have a minimum lease term? Like, what's a minimum stay with you guys?
It could really depend. So in Hong Kong, especially, it depends on the nature of the property itself. So hotels. So in Hong Kong, to do anything shorter than 28 days, you need to have a hotel license. But at Weave on Boundary, the average length of stay is about 10 months. So our residents are opting for a longer stay because they like that certainty of term. But they also like the flexibility that we can offer shorter stay. So we initially started with a minimum 3-month stay, but given the demand that we saw, we increased that to a minimum 6-month stay. So that's what we are accepting in terms of applications.
Nice. And then it seemed, going, I kind of went through your Instagram page and just saw like some of the pictures. It seems like a very diverse group of people live there. Is there a lot of expats? Is it a lot of business professionals? Like, what's your main clientele that seem to live there at Weave?
Yes, it's been interesting. It's a very good mix. We have a great mix of local Hong Kong and Chinese residents. We have a lot of expats as well. So the mix right now is 40% Chinese and 60% expats, which creates a really interesting community, a really diverse community as well. In terms of professionals versus students, we're sort of 25% students and 75% young professional. And the average age of our resident is 27 years. So they have worked for a period of time after they finish university. A lot of them have traveled the world as well. So that creates a really interesting dynamic at the property. We have 28 languages spoken at Weave, which I think is pretty cool.
That's really cool. What language do most people speak? Which language do you hear the most of in the building?
That's interesting. I mean, look, I think we still hear English the most,
Okay.
Because that's sort of a common language amongst most of our residents. But you also hear a lot of Cantonese, you hear a lot of German, French, Mandarin. So it's a really, really interesting mix.
Nice. No, and again, me being in Europe now and jumping around these European cities, like English is spoken everywhere. And part of me, and I don't remember that years ago, so I just think maybe even social media is kind of changing that a little bit. I think the younger generation's learning English because of maybe the social media platforms.
Sure.
But I was curious. And again, I should have started by saying that I've been around the world, but I haven't been to Hong Kong yet. So
you have to come.
I will come visit for sure. It sounds amazing. So let's talk technology. Like, obviously that's my wheelhouse. I'm passionate about that. Like, I think, and I'm sure you'll agree, everything from finding, your place to finding Weave to moving in to like all the processes can be done through technology. I know you guys have Wally, which is your proprietary software, and that's like a resident portal, correct?
The resident app. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And it's on the phone?
So at the moment, it is a web-based portal. We are developing a phone app for that as well. We wanted to make sure that we do all the testing and put it through the rigors before we roll it out more broadly. But yeah, look, you're right. I mean, technology is something that is now, it's almost all pervasive in what we do and how we interact with our residents and our potential residents as well. From searching for a place to live to making the application, which is the process is entirely online. All of that is done with very little sort of paper-based or physical interface, and that creates a lot of convenience for our potential customers, because a lot of them are not even in Hong Kong when they're making the accommodation decision. So we try and make it as hassle-free as possible for them by using technology and just by making things more convenient for them. And once they move in, we have quite a few interesting things going on at the properties as well. We use smart locking systems, which give them real-time updates on what time housekeeping's gone into their bedroom, what time they've left. They can log maintenance issues, on Wally as well, and all of that happens quite seamlessly for them. because at the end of the day, our residents are busy. They're out there studying or they're working. They work long hours. They're out there with their friends. They don't want to spend a lot of their time dealing with the nuisances of renting, which is something we take away from them. And our community team is always there to make their life as sort of convenient and comfortable as possible.
And then do you guys have any other smart features in the units?
We do. So energy conservation, for example, is something very, very dear to all of us. So we've got this really cool technology in our bedrooms. The moment a resident is more than 100 meters away from the property, it automatically switches the air conditioning units off. But the good thing about that is when they get off the MTR in Hong Kong, which is sort of equivalent to the subway, the subway is 150 meters away from our property. So by the time they get, and Hong Kong is a warm, humid city. So by the time they get home, the air conditioning unit is automatically on because they're within 100 meters of the property. So this way, it's comfortable and convenient for them, but at the same time, we're creating that awareness of energy conservation and bringing technology in to try and make that a little bit more efficient.
No, and I smiled so big, right, when you said that, because I kid you not, only 2 days ago at lunch, this was the exact conversation we had. It's one property developer in London. They're launching their first building. And then it's a colleague of mine here in the Netherlands, and she's Dutch, and she's working on a big project. And we talked about the air conditioning, and, they were debating about putting it in because of the waste, because what happens is the renters aren't paying the bill. So of course the window's open and the air is on, and we were talking about like what, and I knew there was technology that could kind of gauge if they're home, if they're not home, but I didn't know you could gauge like if you're within a certain amount of meters it will turn on, and then maybe once they're over that threshold leaving, then it turns off. And so it's regulated by technology, and that's when it works best. And that's what I said. I said, you guys need to put it in. You guys, it's not really, if you guys are on the fence, just know that there's controls now to do.
Sure.
That is
and
really
look,
cool.
I think the other thing about that is, young people are very aware and conscious of the environment, of being more responsible in how they, whether it's single-use plastics or whether it's electricity use. So it's not so much of an issue for us. Oftentimes they switch it off themselves because they are aware of being responsible, but having that technology and that sort of additional piece really adds that edge to what we're trying to do.
That's really cool. I love that. And so how about events? Like, how do you guys help foster community when you have 160 residents? How often do you guys do events? Do you invite the outside, people into the building for these events?
So we have a community team at each of our properties. So at Weave on Boundary, we have a full-time community team. They are there basically throughout the day, 7 days a week. And it's their sort of job to get to know the residents better. So the way we think about this is our job isn't necessarily to force people to come together. It's about creating spaces within our properties where there is an element of organic interaction, whether that's the shared kitchens, whether that's our living areas, whether that's a games area. So we program the space in such a way that people can come together and interact with each other. Having said that, our community team knows all our residents by first name. They know what they do, they know what their interests are, and that allows us to curate the right sort of events for the residents to come together. So we have a range of events on a regular basis. We have something called Week Wednesdays. So every Wednesday, midweek, we have a small event. These events are for residents only. Oftentimes, residents create their own events as well, and we don't even need to be involved in those, which is fantastic because that's what we want to do. But we also have bigger events every month where residents can bring their friends, because it's all about creating pride in where our residents live. It's about, it is their home. so they can invite friends over. I don't think anyone likes someone telling you don't invite a friend over. So it's really up to them, how they use the space, how they leverage the community that they have, whether it's professionally or personally or for recreation. But we do have the community team. We also have we recently hired a chief experience officer, and her job really is to, as we grow the Weave community within Hong Kong and beyond, to create this broader sense of, I guess, a collective identity for Weave residents. And a lot of our events will then start being more than just single property events, but there'll be citywide events where Weave residents can come with their friends and get to know not just 150 other people that live with them in the same property, but maybe 1,000 other Weave residents who live around town.
Awesome. And then when you guys are doing this growth plan, like I think I read somewhere you guys are trying to do about 10,000 rooms or beds. Do you call them beds? Do you ever have multiple beds in a room? Actually, that's another question. Or is it usually single bed?
So we call them bedrooms. I mean, so thus far, given Weave on Boundary and our current pipeline, all these properties will have private bedrooms. So they're single occupancy bedrooms. We feel that is very important for our residents to have a space where it's completely private, because we're deconstructing elements of a home throughout the building, and we create hierarchy of spaces. So the bedroom is your private space. Then there are spaces on the floor where you can create a community within your floor mates, and then there's common areas throughout the building where you're creating the community within the entire building. So we're very much focused on creating private spaces for our residents. We feel that is something that's very important.
Terrific. And that's really neat that you're actually kind of help facilitating these, because I do tell people that, because some arguments are like, oh, when the building gets too big, 100 units, 500, 700 units, then there is no community. Like, how do you make a community that's too big? And I go, no, actually people will usually make their own, like they'll silo off and make smaller communities within the big community.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah, exactly. No, and we've seen that happening. Over the last 1 year, people have created WhatsApp groups, for their own, people who are interested in similar things, or, people who work similar hours. So sometimes, we go to the common areas of Weave on Boundary, and there's just so much going on. But you see someone playing, FIFA on Nintendo, someone is playing ping pong, someone's in the gym, a few people are cooking in the kitchen. So it's really good to see how diverse interests sort of come together, and they all still call Weave on Boundary home, which I think is super pleasing to see.
That is amazing. I love that. I love hearing those stories. So last question that I ask everybody is, where do you see the future of co-living if you look 5 or 10 years out? Because, this is we're in our infancy stage, a year or 2 years in. So where do you see it going?
Yeah, that's a really interesting question. And, that's something, we ask ourselves, I ask myself every day. I think co-living is going to become an increasing part of the accommodation solution in many, many cities. At the moment, co-living seems to be more appealing to, millennials, to sort of, I would say, people under the age of 40, generally speaking. I think co-living is going to become something that a broader demographic will embrace. Because frankly, whether it's a young couple or whether it's a small family, that need for a community is something that everyone feels. And having that community readily accessible in a plug-and-play, hassle-free living environment, I think will appeal to a lot of people. I think one thing that will happen is there'll probably be more customization in relation to specific communities. For example, co-living that caters to professionals in the hospitality industry, or there might be co-living that caters to professionals in the medical industry. So automatically there'll be something common between the residents. I'm not sure, how deep this will go, but I see that sort of customization potentially taking place. But frankly, what I would like to see is, more developers and more operators entering the space, because I think it just creates a bit of healthy competition, and it also allows everyone to sort of up their game a little bit. And I think a sector really thrives is when you sort of get the winners and the losers, so to speak. And that forces everyone to just do a better job overall. And I think that's going to be great for the industry.
I agree 110% with that statement. And I love that. The more people that get into it, the more it's just going to elevate and catch on even quicker. And everybody will then really be on their A game, right? When competition comes in. And so excited to see that, and excited to see where you take Weave Co-Living. Sachin, thank you so much for coming on. I promise when I go out to Hong Kong, I will come visit in person. And again, thanks for coming on the show.
Sounds fantastic. And you can stay with us at Weave. So.
Yes. Awesome. Good. Okay, thanks so much. Have a great day.
All right, cheers. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much for checking out today's episode. If you want to learn more about co-living, you could check out my book on Amazon, The Co-Living Code. And of course, if you're looking for the perfect software to power your co-living concept, check out kindred.io, KNDRD.io. Thanks.